The control room aboard the Galactic Concordat observation post hummed with the soft beeps of monitoring equipment. Science Officer Day-Ho stared at the scanner readings, blinking his large eyes in confusion. Something unusual had appeared at the edge of their territory. "Commander Kim," Day-Ho called, his voice wavering slightly. "I'm detecting an unknown vessel entering the Cairo system." Commander Kim glided across the room, her uniform shimmering under the blue lights of the station. "Show me the readings." Day-Ho pulled up the holographic display. The vessel is using what appears to be fusion-based propulsion, yet it's moving at speeds that such technology shouldn't permit. "Origin?" Commander Kim asked, leaning closer to examine the data. "Unknown, but they're broadcasting an identification signal." Day-Ho's fingers danced across the console. "They call themselves humans from a planet called Earth. We have no records of this species in our database." Commander Kim's antennae twitched with concern. "Send a greeting vessel. Standard first contact protocols." The small diplomatic ship, Gentle Breeze, departed the station within the hour. Lieutenant Ju, the communications specialist, led the mission with excited anticipation. First contact situations were rare and usually celebrated events in Concordat history. As the Gentle Breeze approached the human vessel, they could see it clearly through their viewports. The ship was angular, lacking the smooth, organic curves typical of Concordat design. It had strange protrusions that might be weapons, though they couldn't be certain. "Hailing the Earth vessel," Lieutenant Ju announced. "We are representatives of the Galactic Concordat, a peaceful alliance of species. We welcome you to our territory." The response came quickly, but the translation matrix struggled with the unfamiliar language. What should have been a simple greeting turned into a garbled message that the computer interpreted as threatening. "They're powering up something," the sensor operator shouted. "Energy readings are spiking." Lieutenant Ju tried to clarify the communication, but it was too late. The human vessel released a burst of electromagnetic energy that temporarily disabled the Gentle Breeze's systems. When the systems rebooted, the human ship had moved to a defensive position. It hadn't fired any weapons, but its maneuver displayed surprising agility for its size. "We're being hailed again," the communications officer reported nervously. This time, the translation worked better. "Concordat vessel, we apologize for the defensive measure. Your approach pattern matched hostile encounters we've experienced in the past. We come in peace. Please identify yourselves clearly." Lieutenant Ju attempted to explain, but cultural misunderstandings continued to complicate the exchange. When the Gentle Breeze finally returned to the station, the crew was visibly shaken. "They moved like nothing I've ever seen," Lieutenant Ju reported to Commander Kim. "Their ship should be sluggish with that propulsion system, but it responded like it had instant neural controls." "Were they hostile?" Commander Kim asked. "Not exactly, but they're unpredictable. They don't follow expected protocols." Ju handed over a data crystal. "They sent this, what they call a first contact package, but our scientists say some of the physics principles described in their technical data shouldn't work. Either they're deceiving us or they understand something fundamental that we don't." Commander Kim's face darkened. "Send this information to Central Command immediately. All ships are to maintain a safe distance from the human vessel until we receive further instructions." As the report traveled through subspace communications, stories of the human ship spread among Concordat vessels. With each retelling, the capabilities of the human vessel grew more terrifying. Some claimed it could vanish and reappear at will. Others said it absorbed energy weapons and grew stronger. By the time Admiral Tae-sung received the report at Central Command, the human diplomatic vessel had been transformed in the minds of many into a fearsome warship. The panic had only just begun. Admiral Tae-sung stood at the viewport of his flagship, the Celestial Guardian, staring at the holographic representation of the human vessel. His aide, Officer Jin, approached with a fresh report. "Admiral, more stories about the human ship are spreading through the fleet," Jin said quietly. "Some crew members refused to take shifts in sectors where the vessel might appear." Tae-sung frowned. "Ridiculous. We are the Concordat military. We do not fear the unknown. But privately, the Admiral felt uneasy. The reports were inconsistent. Some described the human ship as barely holding together, while others claimed it could outmaneuver their most advanced vessels. The science team has analyzed the initial scans, Jin continued. They've identified the vessel as HSS Thunderchild. It appears to be... Jin hesitated. Speak freely, officer. It appears to be a diplomatic vessel, sir, not a warship at all. Taesung turned sharply. That cannot be correct. The energy readings are unusual, yes, Jin agreed, but not necessarily weapons. Their technology follows different principles than ours. The Admiral's communicator chimed. Scout ships have returned from observation duty, sir. In the debriefing room, Captain Suk presented her findings. The Bystone veteran scout's usual confidence was noticeably shaken. We maintained distance as ordered, but the human vessel detected us anyway, she reported. When they changed course toward us, we followed procedure and retreated. And, Admiral Taesung prompted, they matched our speed exactly. No matter how we maneuvered, they stayed precisely 5,000 units behind us. They could have caught us, sir, but they chose not to. Science Director Su Min entered the room carrying data tablets. I've analyzed the sensor readings from Captain Suk's encounter. The human vessel is doing things that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. She displayed a technical readout. Their ship uses nuclear fusion for propulsion, primitive, by our standards, yet they achieve acceleration rates comparable to our antimatter drives. Could their technology be more advanced than it appears? Taesung asked. That's the puzzle, Su Min replied. In some ways, their technology seems centuries behind ours. Their communication systems use basic radio waves. Their hull material is simple metal alloys. But then, she swiped to a new image. They have these energy signatures we can't explain, and maneuvering capabilities that defy our understanding of physics. Word about the humans spread through nearby systems. Trading vessels reported changing their routes to avoid the sector where the Thunderchild had been spotted. 3 minor species requested additional Concordat protection, fearing the unknown visitors. In the officers' lounge, rumors flourished. I heard they evolved on a planet with twice our standard gravity, one navigator whispered. They can survive impacts that would kill most species. My cousin served on the Gentle Breeze, another added. She said the human ship absorbed their scanner beams and sent them back enhanced, like they were studying our technology while we studied theirs. Admiral Taesung called an emergency meeting of his command staff. This panic must stop, he declared. We are observing a single vessel from an unknown species. Nothing more. Sir, Captain Minho spoke up. The panic isn't without cause. The data suggests these humans don't follow expected technological development patterns. Species typically master gravitic control before achieving interstellar travel. Humans appear to have skipped several stages of development. Or approached them differently, Science Director Su Min suggested. What if their understanding of physics took a completely different path than ours? Admiral Taesung considered this. Whatever the case, we need more information. Prepare a formal intercept operation. I want that vessel escorted out of Concordat space while we gather better data. As the officers filed out, Communications Officer Hana approached the Admiral privately. Sir, we just intercepted a transmission from the human vessel. It appears to be attempting to establish diplomatic contact using standard peacekeeping protocols. Taesung frowned. Why would a warship use diplomatic protocols? Unless, Hana suggested carefully, it truly is a diplomatic vessel as initially reported. The Admiral stared at the holographic image of the Thunderchild. Something didn't add up. Why would a diplomatic vessel have such unusual capabilities? And if it wasn't a threat, why did it inspire such fear? The fleet of Concordat ships moved into position around the asteroid field. 5 sleek vessels, their hulls gleaming under the distant starlight, formed a perfect pentagon formation. Admiral Taesung watched the tactical display from the command center of the Celestial Guardian. All ships in position, Admiral, reported Navigator Young Ho. The human vessel is continuing its course toward the shattered belt. They can't possibly intend to enter that maze, Tae-sung said, more to himself than to his crew. The shattered belt was a dense field of asteroids, the remnants of a destroyed moon. Even the Concordate's best pilots avoided it when possible. "Sir, the human ship has increased speed," Young-ho announced, surprise evident in his voice. "They're heading directly into the asteroids." "Impossible," Tae-sung muttered. "No ship of that size can navigate those rocks." But the Thunderchild did exactly that. On the main view screen, the officers watched as the human vessel slipped between two massive asteroids with barely meters to spare on either side. "Follow them," ordered Tae-sung, "but maintain safe distance." Two of the Concordate ships, the Swift Wind and the Desert Flower, moved to pursue. Their pilots, among the best in the fleet, cautiously entered the asteroid field. "The human ship is executing a series of rapid turns," Communications Officer Hana reported. "Our tactical computers can't predict their path." On the screen, the Thunderchild darted between floating rocks, changing direction with impossible speed. The Concordate ships followed but struggled to keep pace. "How are they doing that?" Captain Min wondered aloud. "Their navigation must be automated." Science Director Sumin shook her head. "Their maneuvers don't match any known flight algorithm. They're improvising." The word hung in the air. Concordate ships relied on precise calculations and optimal paths determined by advanced computers. The concept of navigating by instinct or improvisation was foreign and frightening. "Swift Wind reports they're losing visual contact," Hana announced. "The human vessel is moving deeper into the field." Tae-sung frowned. "Order all ships to continue pursuit, but exercise extreme caution. I want that vessel tracked, not lost or damaged." For the next hour, the Concordate fleet played an elaborate game of hide-and-seek through the asteroid field. Each time they thought they had the Thunderchild cornered, it would execute a maneuver that the Concordate pilots wouldn't dare attempt. "Admiral, we've pinned them against the Graviton well," reported Captain Jun of the Desert Flower. "They have nowhere to go now." The tactical display showed the human vessel backed against a dangerous gravitational anomaly, with Concordate ships blocking all escape routes. Tae-sung allowed himself a small smile. "Excellent. Open a communication channel." Before he could finish, alarms blared across the command center. "Energy spike from the human vessel," Science Officer Do-yun shouted. "They're activating some kind of system." A brilliant burst of light erupted from the Thunderchild. When it faded, the Concordate sensors were temporarily blinded. By the time they recovered, the human ship was gone. "Where is it?" Tae-sung demanded. "Scanners detect the vessel behind us," Young-ho reported in disbelief. "They somehow crossed through the gravitational distortion. That should be physically impossible." "Admiral," Hana interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the human ship." The message was brief. "Concordate vessels, we mean no harm. We merely wish to continue our diplomatic mission. Please state your intentions clearly." Tae-sung stared at the screen, a new respect forming for these strange newcomers. "They think we're the aggressors," he realized. "This entire time they've been running because they believe we're chasing them with hostile intent, aren't we?" Captain Min asked. Tae-sung didn't answer immediately. The human ship had displayed capabilities far beyond what its appearance suggested, yet it had multiple opportunities to attack and hadn't taken any of them. "Order all ships to hold position," he finally commanded. "I need to report to the High Council. This situation is more complex than we realized." As the Concordate ships halted their pursuit, the crew watched the Thunderchild settle into a stable orbit around a distant asteroid, waiting. The Grand Council, chamber of the Galactic Concordate, buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 species filled the tiered seats surrounding the central speaking floor. Emergency sessions were rare, and many council members had traveled for days to attend. High Counselor Park stood at the center, his ceremonial robes reflecting the chamber's soft lighting. "We are gathered to address the potential threat posed by the newly encountered species known as humans," he announced. "Admiral Tae-sung will present his findings." The admiral stepped forward, looking more troubled than many had ever seen. Him. 3 days ago, our border outpost detected an unknown vessel entering concordate space, Taesung began. Initial scans revealed technology that appeared primitive by our standards. However, subsequent encounters have demonstrated capabilities far beyond what their technology should permit. He activated a holographic display showing the Thunderchild's journey through the asteroid field. As you can see, their maneuvering capabilities defy our understanding. When cornered, they displayed energy manipulation that allowed them to bypass a gravitational anomaly. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Intelligence Officer Hyun-woo requested permission to speak. After analyzing the limited data we have on humans, we've made some disturbing discoveries, Hyun-woo explained. They evolved on a planet with environmental conditions that would be lethal to most concordate species. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous radiation levels, and aggressive predators. He displayed an image of Earth. Their entire evolutionary history has been shaped by survival against overwhelming odds. This may explain their unconventional approach to technology and tactics. Science Director Soo-min added, their technology appears to prioritize adaptability and redundancy over efficiency. Where we might create an elegant solution optimized for specific conditions, they build systems that can function in multiple scenarios, even if damaged. As the Council debated how to respond to this potential threat, Captain Jong of the Diplomatic Corps quietly studied the communication logs from the Thunderchild. Something caught her attention. High Council, she called out, interrupting the increasingly heated discussion. I believe we may have fundamentally misunderstood the humans' intentions. The chamber fell silent. I've analyzed their communication patterns, Jong continued. They follow a structure consistent with established peaceful contact protocols, just implemented differently than our standards. She displayed a series of translated messages. Look at this sequence from their first encounter with the gentle breeze. What our translation matrix initially interpreted as aggressive was actually a standard greeting followed by information about their culture and history. Counselor Lee frowned. But their defensive actions were responses to what they perceived as our aggressive moves, Jong explained. Our standard approach pattern for first contact appears similar to an attack formation in their experience. Admiral Taesung stepped forward again. There's more. Throughout our pursuit, they had multiple opportunities to attack our vessels but never did. They only employed defensive measures, and even those were designed to avoid causing harm. Council chamber grew quiet as understanding dawned. Are you suggesting, High Counselor Park asked slowly, that we have been pursuing a diplomatic vessel this entire time? Yes, Captain Jong confirmed. Everything in their communication indicates they came seeking peaceful contact. Their evasive maneuvers were simply self-preservation in what they believed was hostile territory. Intelligence Officer Hyun-woo nodded in agreement. This actually aligns with what we've learned about human psychology. Their evolutionary history has made them simultaneously cautious of potential threats and remarkably adaptable in response to danger. High Counselor Park looked troubled. So we have been treating potential friends as enemies based on our own misunderstanding and fear. It appears so, Admiral Taesung admitted. I recommend immediate diplomatic outreach to correct this error before further misunderstandings occur. As the Council prepared to vote on this proposal, a message arrived from the border station. The human vessel is hailing all concordate frequencies, Communications Officer Hana announced. They're requesting to speak directly with our leadership. The grand meeting hall of the Celestial Guardian hummed with tension. Representatives from both sides faced each other across a large circular table. Admiral Taesung sat with his senior officers, while Captain Sun of the Thunderchild led the human delegation. Let me be clear, Captain Sun said, her voice calm but firm. The Thunderchild is a diplomatic vessel. We came to establish peaceful contact with your civilization. Admiral Taesung looked skeptical. A diplomatic vessel with advanced defensive capabilities and the ability to navigate the shattered belt at speeds our best pilots wouldn't attempt? Captain Sun smiled. Admiral, what you call advanced defensive systems are standard safety features on our ships. As for our navigation, well, our pilot Jun is simply very good at his job. The human pilot nodded modestly. I grew up racing small craft through asteroid fields as a hobby. The principles are the same, just on a larger scale. Science Director Su-min leaned forward with interest. But your ship's energy signature shows capabilities beyond what your visible technology should permit. Ah, Captain Sun nodded. That's likely our redundancy systems. Human technology emphasizes multiple backup systems and alternative approaches. We don't rely on single, elegant solutions. Ambassador Kang, who had arrived from the Concordat capital, asked the question everyone was thinking. Why? Why design ships this way? Because of where we come from, explained Science Officer Mina from the human delegation. She activated a holographic display showing Earth. Our planet subjected us to challenges most species never face. Extreme weather, natural disasters, rapidly changing environments. The Concordat officers watched with growing understanding as Mina showed images of Earth's varied landscapes, from frozen tundra to scorching deserts, violent oceans to dense jungles. We evolved to adapt quickly, she continued. Our technology reflects this. We don't build things to be perfect under ideal conditions. We build them to work under almost any condition. Admiral Tae-sung's expression had changed from suspicion to fascination. So what we perceived as weapons were simply systems designed to keep functioning in emergencies, Captain Sun finished. When your ships approached in what seemed like attack formations, our defensive protocols activated automatically. The meeting continued for hours as both sides shared information. The humans explained their unusual approach to engineering, while the Concordat representatives described their society and territory. Later, Admiral Tae-sung and Captain Sun walked along the observation deck, looking out at the stars. I must apologize for the misunderstanding, Tae-sung said. We interpreted your capabilities as threats. Captain Sun shook her head. No need. We've encountered this reaction before. Humans seem to have a knack for appearing more dangerous than we intend. It may serve you well in the galaxy, Tae-sung observed. Many species will think twice before challenging you. We prefer cooperation to conflict, Sun replied. But yes, sometimes looking formidable prevents unnecessary confrontations. The next day, a formal agreement was signed. The Thunderchild would continue its diplomatic mission with a Concordat escort. Scientists from both species would exchange knowledge, with particular interest in how humans had developed their unique technological approach. As the ceremony concluded, Science Director Su-min approached her human counterpart. There's one thing I still don't understand. During the chase, how did your ship pass through the gravitational anomaly? Our physics suggests that should be impossible. Science Officer Mina smiled. It almost was. We took a calculated risk based on a theory our physicists developed. It worked, but barely. Our shield generators are still recovering. You risked destruction on an untested theory? Su-min asked, astonished. Sometimes that's how humans make our greatest discoveries, Mina replied. When faced with no good options, we create new ones. As the Thunderchild prepared to depart with its new Concordat allies, Admiral Tae-sung watched from his command center. What had begun in fear was ending in friendship. The Admiral made a note in his personal log. Remember the humans. They appear more dangerous than they are, and yet perhaps more dangerous than they appear.